Welcome to Mind Boost Moments, a podcast for those who want to hear from like-minded people and how they're making a dent in the world. So join me on my continued journey of learning and discovery. My guest today is Priyanku Nandi, who's a skills architect at Lego. I had such a mind-opening conversation with Priyanku, and his energy levels are so infectious. We spoke about the benefits of embracing your imperfections and the positivity that this creates for everyone. This is Mind Boost Moments. I want to pick up on this embracing the fact that we're imperfect and how that shapes your mindset each day.
Yeah, I guess it all started, like I said, as an inspiration, something mentioned by a friend, and then I started reflecting on it a bit, and I said, yeah, it's actually true, right? Because the whole world is trying to be perfect, right? We are trying to do this perfect, and we are trying to make things perfect. Eventually, when things don't become perfect, we are very frustrated and upset and angry
Yeah,
about
yeah.
things, right? And I guess I don't like to use the word negative. I don't use the word challenging. I always use the word opportunity in anything which is not working. And I say, there is an opportunity for all of us, right? Not to make things perfect, but just allow things to be the way it is. But be supportive, be kind, be respectful. Like when I go out, I'm having a coffee just now, right? Costa. So I'm a Costa person, right? If people want to know, but every day I just visit the Costas around me. On my LinkedIn profile, I've got a few photos with some of the people who serve as Costas over there. I love a chat with them, right?
Yeah,
Again, that human connection,
yeah,
right? The imperfectness, right? Valuing them, right? And I always say, thank you for making this coffee for me. It makes my day, right? It's just appreciating, right, things around me the way they are, not trying to make them say that, hey, I want a perfect coffee. I don't know what a perfect coffee is, to be honest, Caleb, right? I probably have a caramel cappuccino,
yeah.
skinny one, and it tastes different every day, though it comes out of the machine. But the person who makes it, right, does something differently. I just enjoy that first sip, right?
Well, and that's what makes it perfect, maybe.
That's it. For me, my expectation is I just want to have a good coffee, a good
Yeah,
conversation,
yeah, yeah,
and we usually do a fist bump, or we just have a chat, and then they will have a conversation. But I leave that sort of place, and I do that with anyone, right? If that person is open to a conversation, I will have a chat, right? I'll just take some time out, because the other thing is time, right? People don't have time these days. You can see that, right?
I
When I
think
travel
people
in train.
choose not to have time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But then it's like just finding 2 minutes of your time to, yeah, do something. And it's again, a lot of people are like, no, you're just trying to obviously do things differently because you believe. And it's no, no, that's not it, right? Again, the word is imperfect human being, but I'm trying to find happiness in small things, right?
Yeah,
That is what it is. I don't want to be an overachiever. I think so. There are a lot of people in the world who can do that, right? And there are, and kudos to them. But for me, it's like I said, the family, the personal life, friends, work life, good balance. Again, how do you get a good balance? But not by not trying to make it all perfect, right? But just
yes.
saying, yeah, I just want a good balance. That's it.
And
Right?
is that so? Back to the original question that I posed to you, which was what excites you in life and what really makes you fizz with energy? Is that the thing? The human connection
That's it.
makes you fizz with energy. So at the end of the day, you know that you've connected with so many people, and that excites you for the next day and the next day.
That is correct, right? And I guess it's connection and reconnecting, right? Because connection is one part of it. If I go back and reconnect with the same people, that just makes it more, how do I say, complete, right?
Yeah,
Otherwise, it's very easy for me to just walk around and connect with a few people. I also believe in connection and reconnection and completing that cycle. So that's how I follow my life. It's beautiful, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
I mean, picking up on the hospitality angle of that, and in Costa, so we also have a coffee shop, and it's interesting when you sort of explain when you try and explain what the purpose of a coffee shop is, right? It sounds obvious, right, to serve coffee, but it's absolutely not. It's about the experiences and the connection that you
correct.
make in that community of people. And again, when you say to someone, why do you keep coming back to this coffee shop? It's not really about the coffee or the food.
It's the
It's
experience
about the people
and the
and the
experience.
memories that you
Yeah,
create in that environment.
absolutely, right? Think about it. Restaurants, right? We all love to go to restaurants and have a meal and etc. How many times have you actually just casually asked the person attending to us and said, "How are you today?" Right?
How
You
are
good?
you? Yeah.
We don't ask these questions,
Yeah,
right? We just like, okay, I'm here to have a happy meal with the family. That's great, right? You have your happy meal, but just to ask that, I do ask that question. My wife looks at me sometimes. She used to get very surprised with eyes like
yeah.
popping out when she used to hear me, but nowadays she's used to it and she's like, how do you do it, right? It's just like, just
Just enjoy
opening,
it.
yeah, just enjoying it, right?
Yeah,
And then that person comes back and you can see that that person is working hard throughout the day,
yeah,
right? Attending to people, trying to make them happy, get an extra tip might be, right? Because
yeah,
that is the whole day, right? Going back home and then going back to his family, leading a life like me, right? And yeah, if we don't connect with them, right, and talk to them, right, and that experience that you spoke of, right, that this thing, it is such a big miss for us, is
yeah,
what I believe, right?
yeah,
So yeah, it's just appreciating what is there around us and the people that are around us. And I do this because when I hear about what's happening in Gaza or Ukraine and the people suffering, you think about the suffering and then you say, nah. And we've just come out of COVID, right? It's what, 3 4 years.
yeah,
We saw that 2 years, right? It was so difficult, right? And at that time people were like, no, we want to smile at each other, we want to talk to each other because we are desperate.
yeah. That's what humans do.
That's it, right? So, and you know what? I have not left. Yeah, COVID has gone away, but I've not left that feeling and that experience in the people. I still connect. If I go out for a run, I just, if a person smiles at me, I'm like, oh, yeah, great. How is your day? Right? Good.
Yeah,
That's it. Right? So it's,
and it's. I mean, I remember last year actually going to Learning Technologies Awards, and again, all the front of house staff, they're busy serving meals, pouring wine, etc. And I took a moment to, chat to the server, and the faces on the table. So what were you saying to her? I said, I was just having a chat.
yeah,
Like, I just ask him, is she all right?
yeah,
What was she up to? Is there anything that she needs to know from me? And it was like everyone else on the table was going, what are you doing?
yeah.
I'm just having a chat.
That's it, right? But the good thing, Caleb, is you did have the chat. You felt happy about it. The person you had the chat would have felt happy about it. It's again about how much of the side noise that you can filter out, right?
Yeah,
It is very important, right? Because in order to maintain the sanity, the balance in your head and mind, not question yourself, right? Oh, people are asking me questions. Why are they asking me questions? No, does not matter, right? If you feel you are in a good place and what you're doing is right, that's what counts, right?
yeah.
If you know that your family is going to back you up at all times for who you are and how you're doing it, that counts, right?
And
And
that
that is what should drive you, right?
So
So
what, and this is a real curious question, right? Because as we keep saying, behavior is infectious, and whether
yeah,
that's positive or negative,
correct.
and most people want to live in that positive space and they want positive people around them because even if they are hitting the downs, you need positivity to pull you out of there. Else it's really easy to just to keep going down. So what is the limiting factor as to why people and organizations cannot accept we're this imperfect human, and actually the best way to bring the best out of people is to keep connecting and keep talking. What is stopping it? It's all happening.
I guess Steve Bartlett again. I'm going back to it, right? Because I read his book. I follow him on LinkedIn. I think so. He's an amazing human being. You can see that the conversations he brings out in his podcast, so down to earth, so natural. It's
Yeah,
almost
yeah,
like
yeah,
you don't require science to understand what they are discussing, whether it's health or any other thing. And what I've also noticed is the other day he was talking to one of these doctors, and I'll give you the answer for what you've asked, is that the doctor was talking about fertility, female fertility, babies, and etc., and why that process should not be delayed. And then Steve, natural like he is, on a podcast discussion, he says, "Oh, I better get moving then, right?" It's just like when you hear these things, you think about what an achiever he is, but he's so human, right?
yeah,
And Steve says this, right? And I strongly believe this. In companies, wherever we are, it's almost become like a race, right? And therefore, everyone is after that perfection. Everyone wants everything to be absolutely right, 100% all the time, right? And that is the reason, right, where failures are not being respected. Though we say, right, through failures we learn, and that's one of it. But I don't think so it's true in most cases, right? Because once you're failing, you're not given that opportunity, right? Or that option. So it's just that we are all racing against time, right? Through transformation, transition, changes. And I guess if we are all only able to take a step back and think about it and understand that it's actually not a race. If you've got people who are imperfect, you have a few people who are perfect, it's a good mix, right? They get to learn from each other,
yeah,
they
yeah,
work
yeah.
together. That's what drives it, right? And we're not trying to create that culture, right? We are trying to almost single out that we want to have the best, right? But we need to remember the best also are imperfect in a few things, right? And we need to respect that, right?
I was going to say, well, what does the best look like? Because actually, if you're after a real blend of thought and innovation and the way things are approached,
Yeah,
you need that mix of imperfection and
correct.
perfection. So the is the best a notional. Yeah, again, I'm just reflecting, thinking that to try and seek perfection is, it could almost be really negative, couldn't it? Because
Yeah,
it just sucks the life out of you to go, I've got to focus on this, we've got to do it, we've got to get these certain
yeah,
people, and anything that detracts from that is then failure,
yeah,
which
that's
then
correct.
spins off into negativity. And
Yeah,
as you say, if we just approached it with a mindset to go, this is really what we want to achieve, but the journey on that is going to be quite messy. It might not go to plan, but we know that anything that doesn't go to plan might be a feature, might be
yeah,
something different that we create.
correct, correct. And what you're saying also reminds me that the trust between each other, right,
Yes.
has reduced a lot. It is a thin line that is joining us in workplaces or outside. The trust, and the trust can only come in if we start connecting with humans, having those amazing experiences we spoke about, right, in the coffee shop. That's when and again I'll just give you a real example. Is when I go back into the coffee shops and have those chats, I can see that we have been able to create a trust between ourselves, right? So that person is able to have open chats with me, right, and discuss something and say, hey, would you know this because you work, so would you have an idea, and I'm able to help that person, right?
Yeah.
I guess that is where it is. The trust, we sometimes do not have that. We say we have that, but it's not existing. And as a result of which, to what you said about failures, it's looked down upon. And then people become insecure because they're like, oh, they don't trust me. That I'm saying that I'm an
Yeah.
imperfect human, but I'll get it, right? I'll achieve it. I'll work with everyone. Can someone work with me to
Yeah.
do this? Yeah, it's
Because what I'm also thinking now is that in order to have that constant connection with people, what I see generally is that more confident, outwardly confident people have those levels of conversation, but actually underlying that is a trust between people to go, I can be my authentic self. And
Yeah,
what I really do enjoy is talking to people. And in order to get to that level, most people go, that's fine. There's no hidden agenda here. It's just you wanting to, have a chat. Whereas on the flip side to that, where we've got no confidence or trust, that most people think there's a hidden agenda
yeah.
behind. Well, why are you doing that? What are the decisions? Talk me through that, because I'm not sure I understand. I'm not sure what they're actually saying is. I'm not sure I trust what's going on here, and and it's just counterproductive, because you sort of start falling into that of disbelieving what anybody is saying, and distrusting what everything's going on.
Yeah,
But I really love your opening statement. It just said, if we embraced our imperfections and acknowledged that we're an imperfect human and therefore an imperfect business, the only way that we can start working together is just by sort of talking openly,
yeah.
with confidence, and suggest that there's no hidden agenda here. We're just working things through. And if it falls out of
Yeah.
that, then so be it.
Absolutely, you're spot on, and then to what you have just mentioned, it just struck a thought in my head is that a few, or let's say a group of imperfect human beings make a great team,
Yeah.
right? Because my what I am imperfect in could be that you are perfect in, right? It's
Yeah.
almost like a jigsaw puzzle that
Yeah.
you're solving, right? And once we come together, being through our imperfectness, we actually become a perfect team, right? And that's what happens. You can see that, they always say opposite poles attract each other,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
these sayings that come in, there is a meaning to it, right? There has always been a meaning, because imperfect people connect with each other because they are like, hey, my sort of weakness I can see as a strength in you, and therefore I want to learn it from you,
Yeah.
right? And become better at it as a human being and a person. And therefore you bond and you have a trust and create a team and this thing, and you love that company and
I
competitor.
think I think you've got to be accepting in that space as well, of those differences in people, that they will be stronger. Because again, what I observe, and I was only having a conversation yesterday, where you want gratification on something, it's really easy to align yourself with someone of a similar mindset.
Yeah,
And really, the best outcome is to align yourself with someone who's got a polar opposite
mm,
thought process and expectation, and you get lots more feedback around that and a different thought process yourself. And the benefit of that is you're having a conversation and
yes,
you're stimulating thoughts,
yeah,
rather than the first one is more just acknowledgement. Yeah, I'm right. I thought
yeah,
that. Yeah, I'm right. And you just carry on thinking, yeah, I'm right.
yeah. Yeah, and you just ignore what the other person or persons are
Yeah,
saying,
you don't
right?
listen.
Because you're like, yeah, I don't care, I think so, I'm on the right way, right?
Yeah,
So
all you've
I,
done is nodded and said, "Yeah, I'm thinking the right thing, so therefore I'll carry on thinking the right thing."
yeah, just imagine you get into a meeting and there you're sitting to have a great discussion, but a person comes in and just says, "Oh, we are going to do it this way, right? That's it. Please take the
Sounds
note.
good.
Please line up." And you're like, "Hey, that was not a good discussion." The trust reduces, and you're like,
Yeah,
I don't like this, right? What is going on? I did not learn anything from this." Because think about it, everyone wants to learn from another, right? If that is the opportunity we are seeking. If someone is doing something better, we are like, hey, there is an opportunity for me to learn and do that, right? I really like it, right? So yeah, yeah,
I,
very true about it.
I'm going to flip this onto a sort of an agenda that is high in the media and business at the minute, and is AI, and people saying, "Oh, AI is going to do this, that, and the other." But what I'm really thinking is, like, imagine that you'd used AI and you typed into Chat GPT or something, and it had fed back going, "Actually, I don't think you're right on that question. I think this is the right approach to that." Most people would go, this chat GPT is rubbish. It's not giving me the right information. And yet what I'm now thinking is that is our human superpower, to challenge, to think about our imperfections and to give opposing feedback and thoughts and ideas.
Yeah,
And you know what an amazing that should be the direction of humanity, isn't it? To be, that really curious mindset and to
yeah,
keep challenging.
correct.
And so if ever we've got that inside us as a human being, that your job is safe because you think differently.
That is
You're
correct.
imperfect. If you want to create that, that's what the AI is for, because you've programmed it to be that not challenging and perfect thing.
You just said it, Caleb, right? That's an excellent analogy, right? AI is supposed to be perfect because you code it and program it. We are human beings. There is no coding and etc. Otherwise, we are robots, right? Just doing things perfectly, 100%. So you're spot on. And that example, actually, because I use Copilot a lot, and some of the emails are right, I've got Copilot activated. And
Yeah,
sometimes because Copilot comes back and gives you feedback about the email, right? The behavioral, the softer part of it. And it's amazing to see the feedback and says, you could have used a better tone. It seems your tone is harsh, and mostly normal people, what rubbish, you know. But sometimes I've actually read it, and I'm like,
oh
yeah,
yeah,
I could have probably just been a
yeah,
bit more this thing,
yeah,
and it
soften that a
helps.
bit. Yeah,
You reflect, right? And I guess that is another thing as an imperfect human being. Always take time out to reflect, right? Reflect on why, and it takes time. Yeah, that's absolutely fine, right?
yeah,
The world is not running away from you, right? It's just about reflect and then think about it, right? And give yourself time. I guess that's important, right? Human connections, time, trust, enjoy, make those amazing people connections and have those amazing experiences.
yeah.
That sums me up, right? Because I always wake up every day and I think about, yeah, I'm going to just do a few of these things and I'm going to be happy, right, at the end of the day, right? And that is my energy, right? So my positive energy, like, I know people talk about superheroes and etc. I believe my positive energy is the superpower that I have, right? So if I am able to actually transmit that to as many people that I connect with and connect to, that's it, right? Here it is. And I always
Well,
go back and knock on doors and say, look, I could see that, when I met you, I could feel it in myself. So I'm passing some energy to yourself, right? Just
yeah.
take it. And I
I
immediately get a response, right? So
It's really funny, because yesterday I had a conversation with someone about superpowers, and they were also on about stacking superpowers, and then also about connecting with people. And I said, that's really interesting, because I wonder how many people would want a superpower that actually benefits lots of other people. Because most people, when you say, what superpower would you want? Most people think about a single superpower that gives them special abilities, not the ability to transform other people and enrich other people.
yeah,
And I said, we're almost like the goodies and the baddies in the film, and so the baddies just want it all for themselves, and the
yeah,
goodies just go, let's just radiate
yeah.
all this energy to someone else.
That is correct. Yeah, and that is how it is. I do the same thing with my daughter, who is growing up, who is 6 years old, right? But she radiates the same amount of superpower energy, right? So she is positive. I love when she goes into school and says, "Happy Friday, Happy Monday," just what I do.
Wow, that's powerful. Just, it's some of that language and the phrases and the body language, and especially in such a young mind as well, is how powerful is that going to grow over the years as well?
Correct, correct. And that's what it is, right? She does it, she passes it on to her friends, and I notice it, and her friends start reciprocating that. And you're like, oh, wow, that's what you want, right?
Yes.
And I have
So,
seen it in my workplace, right? Where now there were people managers, leaders, they used to start the meeting and they said, Priyanku, this is for you. Happy Monday. And a Monday, everyone is like, what? A Monday is a happy Monday. But it just, once you use
yes.
that and you just say hello in that fashion, something transmits through, and you're like, oh yeah, it's going to be a happy day. I
And
think so. Yeah,
the
let's
ne-
take
the
it.
next stage to that is for you to feedback to go, it's not for me because
Yeah,
I'm already radiating Happy Monday. It's for everybody else that isn't.
correct, correct. And you know what? A lot of people, there are pros and cons, because someone might say, ah, but every day cannot be a happy day. No, we're not trying to make every day a happy day. We're just trying to tell you, try and see if you can make that a happy day, right?
Yes.
It's not about, something that has happened, it's not going to work out. Things are not going to work out. Again, that imperfectionist, right? Just believe, take it and say it's not going to work out. I know that, but that doesn't actually make me unhappy. I've learned something, take it, right, and move forward with it,
Yeah.
right? So that the next instance, you're like, okay, I know this is going to fail again, but yeah, give.
How do we deal with it? So there's two things that resonate out of that for me is that, and I spoke to him a few months ago. I used to have an MD, and his favorite phrase was choose your mood. And so every day you start off and you choose your mood. And when I spoke to him, I said, I still to this day remember that. He said, oh, I can't actually take credit for that, but I'm glad I impacted that thought in your head. And the other thing that's going through my head is if you approach everything that it's going to be a challenge and it's going to be a battle, then don't be surprised that it's going to be a battle.
Yeah,
But if you approach everything that it's an opportunity and there is a positive way of doing something with other people around you, then that's how that process is going to go. So it really is a mindset shift to go, okay, things didn't go to plan today or as I expected them, but I want to approach this in a positive way so we get a positive outcome. And
that's great.
and that behavior is really infectious, and how see that through.
Yeah. And you can see that, right? Over the last 2 years, I'm noticing it. I'm in human resources, focusing on training, skill building, enabling people to do better. I noticed this, that now we are all talking about these things, right? How, and people want to be connected, be in communities, talk to others, for simplest things, right? Someone's energy, someone's storytelling habits, someone's uh, some other things just impact them in a way, and they just want to be surrounded with such people, right?
Yeah.
Because it just makes their day, and they feel that that is almost like a magic potion for them, right? Like an Asterix and Obelix, right?
Yeah.
Drink it, and you're like, boom, right? You're away for the day.
I'm conscious of time, and I'm just as a final sort of question, if how would you give someone some advice if they're surrounded by more negative people than positive people? What is the energy that they can take to go, this is how I need to deal with it?
I've been asked this question before. The first thing I tell a person is, if the person is surrounded with a lot more negativity than the person can take or consume, the person is probably in the wrong place. I always say that. First thing, right? Don't fight it, right? Sit back and think about it, that every day, if you can see you're surrounded with so much of negativity, which according to you is negative, and you have tried everything to overcome that, overpower that, it's not happening, you're in the wrong place, right?
Hmm.
You are absolutely in control of where you want to be and how you want to be. So take that step, right?
Yeah.
I guess a lot of us just keep on being in that space, and keep on trying to fight,
Yeah.
frustrating ourselves, stressing ourselves, and then it doesn't do good to ourselves, health wise, mentally, physically, whatever it is, right? That's the first advice, because I know people say, oh, use this method, use this tool, use this, etc. Some of these things might reduce it, but will not take it away, right? That is not going to happen. So you are in the best position to acknowledge and say, ah, this environment is too
Yeah.
negative for me. I
Yeah.
just can't be in it. Even if there are a couple of positive things happening, I don't think so anyone has a superpower to convert all the negatives into positive. It's never going to happen, right? Or you are in the mode, you can say, okay, I'm going to accept this, and I'm going to just say that this is going to remain there, right? So I always say there is no magic wand that anyone can wave, right? Like a Harry Potter, and just say, that's
Yeah.
it, that's gone, right?
Change the environment.
Change your environment. You are in control. You are the owner. You are accountable for what you want to do and what you want to be in. right? So
Yeah.
that's always my sort of advice to people.
Yeah. And what you'll probably think is there's a bit of pain there, but actually you'll see so much growth as a result of doing that, because you'll be with other people that go, yeah, we want to be in a positive place. I mean, I constantly talk about the Sunday night feeling. And so what a horrible thing to be if you're Sunday night going, oh, I've got to go to work. You want to change that environment. So it's like Sunday night, I cannot wait to get into work on a Monday.
That is correct. And that can only happen if you take control of things, right? I've heard
Absolutely.
a lot of people, I've coached a lot of people, mentored a lot of people, and they've asked me the question. They said, how can I change it? For example, I used to say this all the time. I used to say, I actually don't like Fridays. It seems that suddenly I've come to an end of good things happening, right? Working and etc. It's just a vibe, just slows me down, and I just want a bit of it. So I look forward to a Monday, right? I kept on saying that to myself. So now when I actually am on a Monday, I'm like, oh, this is Monday, right? Yeah, let's get on with it. Let's crack on, right?
What's happening?
So that's the mindset, that's the
Yes.
mentality, right? The more
Yes.
you actually hear it, you're like, oh yeah, yeah, that is correct. That is probably the attitude to have. It doesn't come in one day or one night. It's almost like a processing your mind how to
Yeah.
do it, but that
Yeah.
helps.
Yeah. This has been fabulous. Thank you so much for chatting.
Oh, thank
If people want to find out more about what you're doing and connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
They can reach out to me on LinkedIn, right? I'm obviously there on that network.
This has been Mind Boost Moments. If you enjoyed this conversation and want to hear more, subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. And if you want to learn how Mind Boost can really add feeling and emotion to learning experiences within your business, check out our website at mindboostlearning.com.